Fish in a Tree by Linda Mullally Hunt. Chapter 1. In Trouble Again. It's always there, like the ground underneath my feet. Well, Allie, are you going to write or aren't you? Mrs. Hall asks. If my teacher were mean, it would be easier. Come on, she says, I know you can do it. What if I told you that I was going to climb a tree using only my teeth? Would you say I could do it then? Oliver laughs, throwing himself on his desk like it's a fumbled football. Shay groans. Allie, why can't you just act normal for once? Near her, Albert, a bulky kid who's worn the same thing every day, a dark t-shirt that reads Flint, sits up straight, like he's waiting for a firecracker to go off. Mrs. Hall sighs. Come on now, I'm only asking for 1 page describing yourself. I can't think of anything worse than having to describe myself. I'd rather write about something more positive, like throwing up at your own birthday party. It's important, she says. It's so your new teacher can get to know you. I know that, and it's exactly why I don't want to do it. Teachers are like the machines that take quarters for bouncy balls. You know what you're going to get, yet you don't know, too. And, she says, all that doodling of yours, Allie, if you weren't drawing all the time, your work might be done. Please put it away. Embarrassed, I slide my drawings underneath my blank writing assignment. I've been drawing pictures of myself being shot out of a cannon. It would be easier than school, less painful. Come on, she says, moving my lined paper toward me. Just do your best. 7 schools in 7 years, and they're all the same. Whenever I do my best, they tell me I don't try hard enough, too messy, careless spelling, annoyed that the same word is spelled different ways on the same page. And the headaches. I always get headaches from looking at the brightness of dark letters on white pages for too long. Mrs. Hall clears her throat. The rest of the class is getting tired of me again. Chairs slide, loud sighs. Maybe they think I can't hear their words. Freak, dumb, loser. I wish she'd just go hang by Albert, the walking Google page who'd get a better grade than me if he just blew his nose into the paper. The back of my neck heats up. I don't get it. She always lets me slide. It must be because these are for the new teacher and she can't have one missing. I stare at her big stomach. So, did you decide what you're going to name the baby? I ask. Last week we got her talking about baby names for a full half hour of social studies. Come on, Allie, no more stalling. I don't answer. I mean it, she says, and I know she does. I watch a mind movie of her taking a stick and drawing a line in the dirt, between us, under a bright blue sky. She's dressed as a sheriff, and I'm wearing black and white prisoner stripes. My mind does this all the time, shows me these movies that seem so real, and they carry me away inside of them. They are a relief from my real life. I steal up inside, willing myself to do something I don't really want to do, to escape this teacher who's holding on and won't let go. I pick up my pencil, and her body relaxes, probably relieved that I've given in. But instead, knowing she loves clean desks and things just so, I grip my pencil with a hard fist and scribble all over my desk. Allie, she steps forward quickly. Why would you do that? The circular scribbles are big on top and small on the bottom. It looks like a tornado, and I wonder if I meant to draw a picture of my insides. I look back up at her. It was there when I sat down. The laughter starts, but they're not laughing because they think I'm funny. I can tell that you're upset, Allie, Mrs. Hall says. I am not hiding that as well as I need to. She's such a freak, Shay says in one of those loud whispers that everyone is meant to hear. Oliver is drumming on his desk now. I fold my arms and stare up at her. That's it, Mrs. Hall finally says. To the office. Now. I wanted this, but now I'm having second thoughts. Allie. Huh? Everyone laughs again. She puts up her hand. Anyone else who makes a sound gives up their recess. The room is quiet. Allie, I said to the office. I can't go see our principal, Mrs. Silver, again. I go to the office so much, I wonder when they'll hang up a banner that says, Welcome, Allie Nickerson. I'm sorry. I say, actually meaning it. I'll do it, I promise. She sighs. Okay, Allie, but if that pencil stops moving, you're going. She moves me to the reading table next to a Thanksgiving bulletin board about being grateful. Meanwhile, she sprays my desk with cleaner, glancing at me like she'd like to spray me with cleaner. Scrub off the dumb. I squint a bit, hoping the lights will hurt my head less. And then I try to hold my pencil the way I'm supposed to, instead of the weird way my hand wants to. I write with one hand and shield my paper with the other. I know I better keep the pencil moving, so I write the word why over and over from the top of the page to the very bottom. 1, because I know how to spell it right, and 2, because I'm hoping someone will finally give me the answer. Chapter 2. Yellow Card. For Mrs. Hall's baby shower, Jessica shows up with such a big bunch of flowers from her father's florist shop that you'd swear she ripped a bush out of the ground and wrapped the bottom in foil. Whatever, I don't care. I found a bright card with yellow roses at the store, and a picture of flowers won't dry up in a week. I feel like it's my way of saying I'm sorry for being such a pain all the time. Max gives his present to Mrs. Hall. He leans back in his chair with his hands clasped behind his head as she opens it. He's given her diapers. I think he hoped to get a reaction from her and seems disappointed when she's happy. Max likes attention. He also likes parties. Just about every day he asks Mrs. Hall for a party, and today he's finally getting one. When Mrs. Hall slides my card out of the envelope, she doesn't read it out loud like all the others. She hesitates, and I know that she must really love it, and I feel proud, which isn't something I feel very much. Mrs. Silver leans over to look. I figure I might finally get a compliment for once, but instead, her eyebrows bunch up and she motions me toward the door. Shay has gotten up to look. She laughs and says, "The world gets dumber every time Allie Nickerson speaks." "Shay, sit down," Mrs. Hall says, but it's too late. You can't make people unhear something. I should be used to this, but it still takes a piece out of me every time. As Shay and Jessica laugh, I remember how we dressed up as our favorite book characters for Halloween last week. I came as Alice in Wonderland, from the book my grandpa read to me a ton of times. Shay and her shadow, Jessica, called me Alice in Blunderland all day. Keisha steps up to Shay and says, "Why don't you mind your own business for once?" I like Keisha. She isn't afraid, and I'm afraid of so much. Shay turns, looking like she's ready to swat a fly. "Like it's your business?" she asks her. "That's right, it's not my business, but it's as much yours as it is mine," Keisha replies. Shay lets out a small gasp. "Stop talking to me." "Stop being mean," Keisha replies, leaning forward. Max folds his arms and leans forward across his desk. "Yes, there's going to be a fight," he says. "There isn't going to be a fight," Mrs. Hall says. Suki is holding one of her small wooden blocks. She has a collection of them that she keeps in a box, and I've seen her take one out when she gets nervous. She's nervous now. Shay glares at Keisha. Keisha is new this year, and I'm surprised she said something. Everyone is all riled up, and I don't even know how this all happened. While Mrs. Hall tells them both to cool off and points out to Max that it's foolish to root for a fight, Mrs. Silver waves me toward the door. What the heck is going on? Once we're out in the hallway, I can tell by Mrs. Silver's face that it's going to be another one of those times when I'll have to say I'm sorry or explain why I've done something. The thing is, I have no idea why I'm even in trouble this time. I stuff my hands in my pockets to keep them from doing something I'll regret. I wish I could put my mouth in there too. "I just don't get it, Allie," she says. "You've done other things that have been inappropriate, but this is just, well, different. It's not like you." It figures. I do something nice, and she says it isn't like me, and I can't understand how buying a card is bad. "Allie," Mrs. Silver says, "if you're looking for attention, this isn't the way to do it." She has that wrong. I need attention like a fish needs a snorkel. The door swings all the way open, hitting the lockers, and Oliver springs from the room. "Allie," he says, "I think you gave her that card to tell her you're sorry she has to leave us to go have some dumb baby. She's probably really sad. I feel sorry for her too." "What is he talking about?" "Oliver," Mrs. Silver asks, Is there a reason you're out here? Yeah, I was going to the boys' room. Yeah, that's it. And off he runs. Can I just go now? I blurt out, feeling like the job of just standing here is something I can't do for another second. She shakes her head a bit as she speaks. I just don't get it. Why in the world would you give a pregnant woman a sympathy card? Sympathy card, I think. And I think some more. And then I remember. My mom sends those to people when someone they love dies. My stomach churns, wondering what Mrs. Hall must have thought. You do know what a sympathy card is, Allie, don't you? I should deny that I know, but I nod because I don't want to have to hear Mrs. Silver explain it. And besides, she'll think I'm even dumber than I am, if that's possible. Then why would you do such a thing? I stand tall, but everything inside shrinks. The thing is, I feel real bad. I mean, I felt terrible when the neighbor's dog died, never mind if a baby had died. I just didn't know it was a sad card like that. All I could see were beautiful yellow flowers, and all I could imagine was how happy I was going to make her. But there are piles of reasons I can't tell the absolute truth. Not to her, not to anyone. No matter how many times I have prayed and worked and hoped, reading for me is still like trying to make sense of a can of alphabet soup that's been dumped on a plate. I just don't know how other people do it. Chapter 3. Never up to me. Leaning against the wall in the hallway, I stay quiet. Some little kids walk by, reminding me that I'm in 6th grade, the highest grade in the school, but I feel like a baby. Allie, do you have anything to say? Mrs. Silver asks. I'm afraid to open my mouth because sometimes things just come out that get me in trouble. Finally, she suggests we go to her office. I sit in the principal's office, staring out the window, silent. I wonder what it would be like to be able to relax at school and not have to worry every second of every minute. I wish I had my sketchbook of impossible things. It's the only thing that makes me feel like I'm not a waste of space. I like to watch the pictures in my head become real in my book. My recent favorite is a snowman that works in a furnace factory. And then I decide that the craziest, strangest, most unbelievable thing I could ever draw is me doing something right. Mrs. Silver's sigh brings me back to reality. Between last year and this year, you've been here for less than 5 months, Allie, and you've been to visit me far too much. You need to make some changes, she says. I sit silent. It's up to you. It's not up to me. It's never been up to me. Mrs. Silver's talking is like background noise, like the radio in the car. I don't have any words to explain. It was a mistake, and I'm ashamed, and I don't feel like sharing that with her. She takes a breath. Did you think it would be funny? I shake my head. Did you want to hurt her? I look up quick. No, I wouldn't hurt her. And I wonder what I've wondered before. Should I just tell her? It's like my chair is over a trap door and there's a button to drop myself. I want to, but I'm afraid. I look up at her, looking at me all disappointed. Again. And I think that there's no use. They already think I'm a pain, so why add dumb to their list? It's not like they can help anyway. How can you cure dumb? And so I look out the window again. Remind my mouth to keep shut. I've learned from the 7 different schools I've been to that it's better to stay quiet. Never argue unless I really have to. I realize that both of my hands have curled into tight fists, and Mrs. Silver is looking at them. She sits down in the chair next to me. Allie, sometimes it seems that you just want to get in trouble. She leans forward a bit. Do you? I shake my head. Come on, Allie. Tell me what's going on. Let me help you. I look at her quick and then away. I mumble, no one can help me. That's not true. Will you let me try? She points at a poster on the wall. Can you read that for me, please? She says, out loud. The poster shows 2 hands reaching for the other. Great, probably some sappy saying about friends or sticking together or whatever. I don't even have any friends. Come on, Allie, read it for me, please. The letters on the poster look like black beetles marching across the wall. I could probably figure most of them out, but I'd need a lot of time. And when I'm nervous, forget it. My brain goes blank like an Etch-a-Sketch turned upside down and shaken, gray and empty. Well, what does it say? She asks again. I don't need to read it to you. I get it, I say, trying to bluff. Staring her dead in the eyes. Believe me, I know all about it already. I don't know about that, kiddo. I think you might need to work on it a bit. Now I wish I knew what the poster said. I don't look at it, though. Then she'll want to talk about it more. The bell rings. Mrs. Silver rakes her hair with her fingers. Allie, I don't know if you thought the card would be funny, or you are upset that Mrs. Hall's leaving, or what, but it feels like you've crossed a line this time. I imagine myself crossing the finish line, my body breaking the bright red ribbon. The crowd cheering as confetti spins through the air, but I know this is not what she means. As of Monday, your new teacher will be Mr. Daniels. Let's try to avoid any negative consequences, okay? I think about how me avoiding consequences would be like the rain avoiding the sky. She waves me out, and as I stand, I look at that poster again. I wish I knew what it was I should learn, because I know that I should know a lot more than I do. She sighs as I leave her office, and I know she's tired of me. Even I'm tired of me. As I run from the office, the hallways are filling with kids. I head back to my classroom to apologize to Mrs. Hall before the buses leave. I run up behind her, tap her on the shoulder. When she turns and looks at me, her face goes sad before straightening out. I stand there thinking how sorry I am, hoping she doesn't think I'd wish anything bad on her baby. But I can't find the words. My mind does the Etch-a-Sketch thing. Blank. What is it, Allie? She finally asks. She puts her hands on her big belly like she needs to protect it. I turn and run out of the room, down the hall and out the front door. The buses are pulling away without me. But that's the way it should be, I guess. I deserve to walk. All that long way, and all by myself. Chapter 4. Bird in a Cage. When I finally get to Park Road, I head into AC. Peterson Farms, which is a weird name for a restaurant. They have pictures of cows inside and outside, but it's on a busy street with tons of stores. I wonder if there is a restaurant somewhere in the middle of nowhere named Crowded City. My mom is waiting. Where have you been? I've been worried sick, she says, wiping her hands on her apron. I missed the bus and had to walk. She shakes her head. Sit yourself down there and start that homework of yours, she says, nodding toward the end of the counter. The same place I always sit. A place where she can keep an eye on me, she says. Anything you want to tell me? She seems tired. They called you, didn't they? I ask. Yes. I don't know why you would do such a thing, Allie. She sounds sad instead of mad, which is worse, I think. There is a tray full of glass sundae dishes filled with brightly colored ice cream. Strawberry, pistachio, black raspberry, pink, green, and purple. I like the colors next to each other and wonder what kind of impossible things I can draw about ice cream. Maybe melting rivers of it. And a man with a cone-shaped head sitting in a banana split dish, rowing with a spoon. Allie, are you listening? Oh, sorry, I mumble, pushing off the floor with my foot to spin on the padded stool. I just don't know what to say anymore. My mom's boss looks at her over his glasses. She drops to a whisper. Just do your homework. We'll talk at home, and please, no spinning on that stool. I'm sorry, I am. I really thought Mrs. Hall would like that card. How could that be? She says as she picks up the tray of ice cream and moves away. I pull out a book and open it, but the letters squiggle and dance. How are other people able to read letters that move? So instead, I stare at the steaming liquid dripping into a coffee pot and start thinking of steaming volcanoes and dinosaurs standing around drinking coffee, staring up at the giant meteor soaring through the air, commenting on how pretty it is, and I think about how lucky they were that they never had to go to school. I grab a napkin and begin a drawing of them for the sketchbook of impossible things. Soon, my mom's brown and white checkered apron is in front of me. I look up. I swear it, I didn't know it was a card for dead people. It's a sympathy card, she says, and it's for the people that miss the person that has died, not for the dead. Well, don't you think the dead person deserves a card more than anyone? And she laughs. She leans her elbow on the counter and lifts her other arm to put her hand on my face. It's warm, and I'm so relieved that she isn't that mad at me. You're funny, you know that? Then she pulls over the napkin with the dinosaurs holding coffee cups. What's this? Just an idea I have for the sketchbook of impossible things. She stares at it. Aw, your grandpa knew you were talented, and he'd be so proud of how hard you're working on your art. And he would love that you named your sketchbook after Alice in Wonderland. He had such fun sharing that book with you. She looks up at me, just like he shared it with me when I was young. Alice in Wonderland, a book about living in a world where nothing makes sense, made perfect sense to me. I miss Grandpa, I say. 3 words that hold sadness like a tree holds leaves. Me too, sweetheart. I miss how he'd move from place to place with us whenever Dad got stationed somewhere new or deployed. It's weird to think he doesn't know that we've moved again. She taps the end of my nose. I don't know, sweetheart. I think he knows. Just then, voices I recognize come through the glass doors. It's Shay and Jessica. When I turn around, she says, Well, look who's here. It's Allie Nickerson. They know my mom works here and have seen me here before, so I figure it isn't a coincidence that they're here. Allie, Shay says, you never came back to class. We were worried about you. What a joke that is. I turn back around while they whisper. Then Jessica asks, Why don't you come sit with us? Her voice reminds me of a pin hidden inside a candy bar. My mom motions with her head that I should follow them. Go ahead, sweetheart. You can take a break. I give my mom the please just stop eyes while Shay mimics the word sweetheart in a baby voice. I guess my mom didn't hear because she whispers, New friends would be good, Allie. It wouldn't hurt you to at least give them a chance. Someone comes to seat them, but Shay asks, Can we just sit at the counter? Great. Once they sit, there are 2 stools between me and them. My mom leans in and whispers, Why don't you move down and sit with them? They're reaching out, Allie. Reaching out with a bottle of poison. I think back to one of our apartments where the landlords kept llamas in the field. I loved them, but Mom said they smelled. I whisper back, It's more likely that you'd buy me my own pet llama than me sit with them. She half smiles. What shall we name the llama? I squint and shake my head. She makes that exasperated sound. So stubborn. Shay and Jessica stare at us like 2 cats watching birds in a cage. My mom takes her pad out and walks over to them. Hello, girls. What can I get you? Jessica orders strawberry ice cream, but when Shay orders chocolate, Jessica tells my mom, Oh, that sounds good. I'll have chocolate instead. I roll my eyes. Typical Jessica. As soon as my mom is gone, Shay asks, So, Allie. I look over. Why would you give Mrs. Hall that card? That's like really mean. Since there is no good answer to give, I stare at the page in my book. I'll ignore them. I've taken their teasing before. Jessica laughs. Has your mother always been a waitress? No, I blurt out. She used to be an astronaut. They break into laughter, and over near the kitchen, my mom smiles. She thinks I'm bonding with them. My father, Jessica begins, owns his own flower business, and he says, Shay interrupts. Allie, maybe you can be a waitress when you grow up. But can you read the flavors of ice cream for me? I'm having trouble. She points up at the slow-turning cube hanging from the ceiling that lists the flavors on each side. The movement makes it even harder to read. I feel my face get hot. Oh no, do they know I can't read? As they laugh, I remember how I had to read aloud last year when I first got here. I knew I shouldn't have, but some stupid voice in my head sometimes says it will be different this time, and I try. And I always fail. That day, I read that macaroni can swim up to 20 miles an hour. It was supposed to be a manatee. The class laughed, of course, but so did the teacher, so I tried to pretend I had done it on purpose. I get up, walk behind them, around the corner, and into the back room. I'm not supposed to be back there, but it's the only place they can't follow me. I step behind the tall metal shelves with cans of pickles and ketchup and relish that are bigger than my head. Pushing my back hard against the wall, I see words on everything that surrounds me. Boxes and cans and giant plastic bottles. Words. I can never get away from them. I think back to 2nd grade when my teacher wrote a whole lot of letters down and asked me what they said. I had no idea. But I was used to that. That spells your name, Allie. Allie Nickerson. Who knew a second grader could understand what being humiliated feels like? Tears begin to come, but I swallow them because I know I'll be found soon. I worry so much about them knowing my secret that my stomach feels like I've been kicked in the guts. Allie? My mom asks as she comes around the corner. Your friends have gone. What are you doing back here? I can't tell her. Thinking I have friends makes her so happy. Honey? I was checking the ingredients of ketchup. Her eyebrows bunch up. She knows something is up, but I walk past her before she asks another question. I walk back out into the restaurant with her following and sit next to Shay and Jessica's matching empty dishes. It feels like they should mean something, like maybe I'm an empty dish compared to everyone else. But mostly, those dishes make me feel like this year will be the worst year I've had so far, and that's really saying something.